Very good evening, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Nehru Centre. The Nehru Centre is privileged to host book launch of Dr. Manjiri Prabhu, The Rampur Raza Mystery. Dr. Manjiri holds a doctorate in communication science and is an award-winning author, independent filmmaker for television. She has directed over 200 children's TV programs and more than 50 short fiction and travel films. Her unpublished psychological thriller novel was adapted into a Hindi feature film by NFDC titled Kuch Dil Ne Kaha. Her PhD thesis converted into a book titled Roles, Real and Real has become a rare reference book for students of Hindi cinema. Dr. Prabhu has been acknowledged as a pioneer in India among women writers of mystery fiction, and she has a diverse global fan following. She is also the first female mystery author to be published outside India. She has been on the literary horizon for more than 3 decades. She is also the curator, director of 2 international festivals, Pune International Literary Festival and International Festival of Spiritual India. About her today's book launch, she has authored a finest book. Her book, The Rampur Raza Mystery, was recently launched by the Honorable President of India, Srimati Draupadi Murmuji, during the event Festival of Libraries organized by Ministry of Culture in August 2023. The book, Rampur Raza Mystery, is a rich tapestry of historical accounts presenting a fictionalized narration of some rare manuscripts which go missing. To know more about the book, I would like to invite the author of the book, Dr. Manjiri Prabhuji. Today she will be in conversation with Mr. Yasir Usman, noted TV journalist, editor-in-chief, and author. I request both of you to take over the stage for today's program. I thank you all. Thank you.
Yes, I will copy. Yeah, 2 minutes. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really looking forward to today's event. And before we begin, there's a small AV on the author, that's me. And then after that is a teaser on the book, after which we will launch the book and then the conversation will begin. So I think first we'll see 2 AVs. I would like to invite the Deputy Director of Nehru Centre, Mr. Sanjay Sharma, on stage, and Mr. Yasir Usman on stage to unveil the book, please.
Please.
I think it's there. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. I know it's a working day, but thank you. I think it's for Manjiri and her book. We all are here to celebrate the Rampur Raza Mystery. So, welcome Manjiri to London, and I have actually read the Rampur Raza Mystery. You have sent me a copy, and it's lovely and truly what we say, edge of the seat thriller that takes place in 12 hours, so that it's really pacey. And we talk about mystery and we call it a mystery thriller, but I think more than just mystery, it's also about the history of the iconic Rampur Raza Library. I have been there. I was born a few kilometers away from that city, so I know the library and I know the city. And also, it's very heartening that Ministry of Culture has actually, commissioned a book about a 250-year-old library. To begin with, I would like to ask about the process and how it all began, this new series. You have done many series. I think this is a new series for you, the Library Thriller series. Tell us more about what exactly is Library Thriller series, just one building and 200 pages about it. How's the process of writing it?
Thank you, Yasir, and thank you once again for being here, everyone. Thank you, sir, for launching the book. Well, so first and foremost, I call it my miracle book, okay, because it happened very strangely. It was really very miraculous because I was in the Ministry of Culture for some other work, and I met Miss Mugdha Sinha, who's the Joint Secretary, and she was looking at my books and she said, Manjiri, you write destination thrillers. Why don't you write a library thriller? And I said yes, instantly, because even the thought was very exciting. And she said, it's going to be Rampur Raza. Please excuse my throat, my voice, because I've totally lost it. So I said, which is the library? And she said, Rampur Raza Library is going to complete 250 years, and we want to do something special about it. But she said that there is we were talking about this in April. And she said, but this book has a launch date, and that's 5th August.
Okay.
So April, May, June, July, and August 5th, which means I got only 3 months in between. So I said yes. I looked up the library, went back home, and I said, of course, it looked so amazing. And I said, wow, it's a palace and all that. I went there in May for 5 days, okay? Totally sat morning to evening, researched it, looked at the manuscripts, did whatever I could there in 5 days, came back, wrote the book in 25 to 30 days. And honestly, this is a miracle because I literally told the spirit of the Raza Library, please get this book written from me. I've committed, and probably you've invited me here because you think I'll do justice to your, entire existence. And I wrote it in 25, 30 days. NBT got it out in 1 month, which is again another miracle. And on 5th of August, Honorable President of India, Draupadi Murmu, launched it. Yeah. So this whole process, when I look back, I can't even imagine how it happened. It was truly, truly miraculous.
It is miraculous, and when she says that she was talking to the spirit of Rampur Raza Library, I can actually understand, being a writer. When I write my biographies, I sometimes
Yeah.
think like that, that I'm talking to the spirit of the person I'm writing about, which is crazy to think, but that's how it goes. Also, while I was reading your author's note for the book, Dr. Manjari, you talk about the Awadhi phrase Ganga Jamni Tehzeeb, which is about the coexistence and harmonizing of Hindu-Muslim culture, fusing of rituals and beliefs. You have written it was your first comprehensive interaction with the expression. Tell us more about this, because you have written so many books, but this particular thing comes for the first time in your author's note. What is it all about?
So, well, I come from a very cosmopolitan background. I grew up in Maharashtra, in Pune. I was never actually introduced to a Nawabi culture. And when I realized that I'm going to a library which was built by a Nawab, and there still exists all this whole culture, the culture there, for a moment I wondered, am I the right person to write this book? Because I wasn't at all used to it. But it was when I went there and I saw several things. For example, the most important thing is that palace, which is the Hamid Manzil, where the library is now situated, was built in 1905. It was commissioned by a Nawab. The architect was a French architect in a British Raj in Rampur, where the population was mostly Hindu. Now, when you look at this, you realize that the Nawabs then were so inclusive. They wanted to give the Hindus a status. And how did they do this? Of course, all of this is there, but there are 8 minarets there. So if you saw the teaser, you must have seen the towers, right? Now, those towers are not ordinary towers. They're built very differently. So they're actually broken up into sections. The bottom section is a masjid. The one above that is a gurudwara. No, is a church. No, sorry, is it a gurudwara or church? Either of the two. I think it's a church. Yeah, it's a then church. There is another section which is the gurudwara, and on the top of the minaret is a temple. Now, this is the most fascinating part. How more can you be inclusive? How more can you signify coexistence, harmony? So when I went there, I realized that this is much larger than what I imagined.
Also, this can only happen in India, of course, we know that. And also, while talking about your characters, like Sarika Sardesai is your protagonist, the detective protagonist, Sessi. And then there are the characters in Rampur, Shaukat Mia, which I loved. They are all very intelligent people, they're very efficient people. Like most of the thrillers that are published in India, all the stories are somehow inspired by Western thrillers. And they retain that kind of flavor. While reading your story, I realized it is a very Indian story in terms of its characters, in terms of their milieu, their cultural milieu. How did that happen? For example, when you were writing about Shaukat Mia and the other characters of Rampur, like you said, you were born and brought up in Maharashtra, which is a completely different part of India, and also cosmopolitan, while Rampur is a small town in North India with a different cultural aspect to it. What was the preparation that went behind it?
Lots of preparation. I had to unlearn a lot of things and then learn a lot of things. So I approached it in 2 ways. This kind of a book on a library which was so iconic deserved to be represented in a very 360-degree angle. So first, of course, the people who are actually working there, who helped me write the book, and the way they interacted and the way they explained all the manuscripts to me. Because I come from an arts background. I'm not a historian. I don't understand art in the sense, or I don't read Persian. So all those miniatures and everything had to be explained to me, which was, I would say, very exciting, but quite puzzling to me. The second part was, the architecture of the Hamid Manzil. It was, the structure, like I said, its history. And I wanted to do justice to both of these in the book. So, of course, 5 days when I was there, I looked at the manuscripts. There are certain manuscripts which really helped me decide whether I'm actually going to write this book or not. There's one example I've given in the book, which is about the Diwani Hafiz. Okay, where it's a poetry book written in Persian, in gold completely. And this person who was telling me about the book said, if you have any question in mind, just think of the question, open the book, and put your finger on any one of the poems, and you will get your answer. And so I did it.
Yeah.
And I asked, am I going to complete this book? Is it going to be successful? And I closed my eyes and I opened the book and I placed my hand on one of the poems, and then he read it in Persian because he could read Persian. And it said, jubilation, success, and celebration.
See, that's what we are doing.
Exactly. So what I'm trying to say is that writing about characters, about the place, all of that had to come together in a very neat manner, and I had to follow a systematic process for it.
And I request each one of you to read the book, because I find it, to begin with, a very Dan Brownish narrative, but then it takes its own shape and it becomes a truly Indian book because it talks about Indian poetry. For example, the manuscripts that are missing are a very old copy of Quran and also a Persian translation of the Ramayana. And then through poetry and clues, how the lead protagonist discovers that. That is the story, but it is not just the story. It is also the entire culture that it captures in her writing. Manjiri, you've been known for your vivid, pacey destination thrillers, like we saw in the trailer also. What exactly is a destination thriller? You have to tell us that. And when did you realize it is going to be your niche? Because whenever I have met you or talked to you, you talk about that this is going to be my next destination thriller. Last time I went to your book launch, it was something to do with Salzburg.
That was the first book in the series.
That was the first book in the series. That was years ago. And from that day, I think you have published so many destination thrillers. What is a destination thriller all about?
Well, it's very simple. If you take a cheese sandwich and remove the cheese from it, would it be a cheese sandwich?
Okay.
It wouldn't be. It would be a sandwich.
Yeah.
Right. So it's that way. If you remove the destination from the thriller, it becomes just a thriller. So my destination is actually a character in the book. It takes the story forward. There are clues in the destination, like you saw in the book, which, if I remove the destination, the story would fall flat. It wouldn't go ahead. So the destination is as important as the book itself. Without the destination, there is no destination thriller. And I started this, so actually, Yasir, I'm very fond of traveling, as you already know, and of course, very passionate about the writing. And I have always been doing this for many years, but never termed it as a destination thriller. But what really happened was, I'll give you a short anecdote about this. It was in 1998. I went backpacking with my husband to Salzburg, okay? And we passed this Schloss Leopoldskron, where the film Sound of Music was shot. And we saw it across the lake, and I said, oh wow, what a lovely place. Imagine basing a story here. As luck would have it, in 2001, I was invited to that Schloss for a seminar page to screen. And the moment I entered the Schloss, I knew I had to base a story here. Flash forward 12 years. All things happened. I wrote other books and all, but there was this niggling thing in my mind that I haven't written my destination thriller. And I wrote back to them and said, can I please come back there and can I base a thriller there? They said yes. And they invited me back. I stayed there for 25 days, came back, did a lot of research, and then the Trailer 4 was born. So what I'm trying to say is that the seed of a destination thriller is sown way back into my past, and it's actually like the destination calling me. So that's how it happens. Absolutely.
So would you call this book a destination thriller too?
It is a library thriller, but
Okay.
it's a spin-off of a destination thriller, yeah.
True. Also, you have mostly written thrillers, like mysteries and crime thrillers is part of crimes happening and murders happening. But at the same time, whenever you watch a crime movie or read a crime book, the focus is entirely on the crime and how to solve it. But in your books, the ones I have read, there's always a theme of peace and empathy simultaneously going on, which is a very fascinating balance to maintain. Because as a reader, I have never seen that happening, because it is always the crime and focus is on the crime, but you kind of maintain that balance of through characters or through a story arc, that peace and empathy. That's very important thematic thing about your books. Why do you want to do it? Is it intentional?
Yeah, it's very intentional because First, I believe in peace, empathy, coexistence, harmony. I think it's one of my goals in life to whatever way I can do to build compassion in human beings, which is why I love dogs and I propagate dog love. But that apart, I believe that mystery fiction is motivational fiction. Which other novel tells you that if no matter what happens in your life, everything is ultimately going to be solved properly and all's well that ends well? Mystery fiction does that. Everything is usually, of course, unless you want to take the book off on another tangent, but most of the mystery fiction, especially cozy fiction, tells you that no matter what upheavals come in your life, in the end, all is going to be well. And I think I take this forward and I use the same theme to spread the message of peace and compassion through my books. So even if you have a murder, you would still have a love piece resolve in the end. So through the characters, like you said, or through the way the plot is resolved, my message is always spread peace, be together, be kind to each other.
And the characters are with essential human goodness.
Absolutely.
They're always...
So in my destination thrillers, Ray Parker is half Indian, half French. But he wears a Ganesha pendant. And he's meditative. And he can read energies. He's extremely sensitive. So all the time, he's completely compassionate towards even the criminals. So is Sonia Samarth, who solves cases with the help of astrology. So somewhere along the way, I feel I cannot let this go. My message is always, no matter what happens, be happy with each other, be kind to each other, live together, live and let live.
Commendable, Dr. Manjari. And because most of your series, different series, is library series and the other Astro series, they all have, female protagonists. Are these an extension of your character and thinking?
Oh God.
Like all your series have.
Except Ray Parker, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So Sassy is more like me.
Sassy is more.
And the reason being that I didn't have time to actually.
She's also a Maharashtrian.
She's a Maharashtrian. Yeah. She's a bookworm like me, and a few of her traits are like me. The reason being that I didn't have time to create somebody different from me, so I just gave her a lot of my own traits and turned her into Sassy. But Sonia isn't like me. Sonia is more like my sisters, I think. But despite that, I did create a very perfect man in Ray Parker. I think he's just gorgeous. The way he thinks and the way he's sensitive and the way he solves the cases. So I did create a very good male character too.
Thank you for that. And I want to tell everyone that she is coming directly from Oxford, where she was a speaker at the Oxford Literary Festival. And she was launching a book, her new book, which is not this book, okay? So, which also means that she has launched 2 different books in a single week. So she's writing a lot. How is this happening, Manjari? Like 2 books releasing in a week, 2 book launches in a week in the UK. Tell us, how is this process? How much do you write?
Let me put it this way, that I don't write the books happen to me. I'm chosen. I'm the chosen one, honestly. And I'll tell you why I believe in this is because I feel that like you have dust particles in the air, there are these idea particles everywhere around which are looking for a fertile alignment, a magnetic field to be aligned. And I think sometimes they find me. And I guess I'm that fertile enough and imaginative enough to pick up that idea and take it forward. Having said that, I do process the whole thing and I do plan it well. For example, I always want to bring out 2 books a year, which is what I want to do. But they may not be necessarily this year. They could be 2 years from now. So I work backwards. And I make it a point to enjoy my writing.
And you write every day?
No, I don't. No. I do lots of other things. But when I start writing, I write continuously for months. It could be a month, it could be 2 months. But I make sure that I enjoy it because writing for me is a passion. I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. And I wouldn't do it if I didn't have anything to tell. So once the idea captures me, I follow this golden rule. I don't chase the ideas chase me first, and then I chase the idea. So that's it, and I always believe in the creative process. I have full faith in it. I don't start writing and I feel, good God knows if I'm going to complete this book. I never feel that. I feel I'm the chosen one now, and this book will be finished. and it will find a publisher, and it will find a reader. I think this faith in my journey is what helps me to write book after book.
20 books. And do you ever get tired of writing or face writer's block?
Lots of times. But like I said,
What
I
do
have
you do
faith.
then?
I still continue. No, I do kind of step back a bit when I have writer's block. But I have faith that I will complete the book. Touch wood, my muse is with me, and I think I'll go on writing.
Okay, 20 books, 2 books in a week, but that's not all. You are also the curator and founder of 2 international lit fest in Pune. I've been a part of one literature festival, which is PILF, Pune International Literature Festival, and the other one is International Festival of Spiritual India. Tell us more about it, and when do you get time to plan about those things? Because it is a full-time thing to plan a literature festival, and that too in India. It's an elaborate process.
Yeah, so basically in 2013, I think PILF started in 2013. It was a natural, how should I say, I became a festival director very naturally. For the simple reason that one of the reasons was that I realized when I looked around India, there were many lit fests, but I wasn't being invited to any, whatever the reason. Then I realized that there are certain niche authors go to certain niche festivals.
Okay.
And I thought Pune is supposed to be the Oxford of the East, and we don't have a lit fest. So I said, why not start one? And I didn't do it on my own, of course. I've got a big team working with me. My family supports me. And it is a 3-day festival. We finished 11 years. We're in our 12th year. But it gives me immense satisfaction to create this platform for all kinds of writers, not just the ones on the top, but even debut writers and even B-list writers. And it gives me immense satisfaction to know that they are creating their own readers, and there's a lot of networking that's happening there for everyone. The second festival, the spiritual festival, happened as an offshoot of PILF. I felt we were in times where people needed some kind of guidance in life. You know, whether there were so many troubled souls around me, maybe a bit of me too. And I realized if there was someone to tell you which path to take in life, life would be so much easier. So we decided, let's have a spiritual festival where we could help people find their path in life and not resolve problems, because that's not in our hands, but we could give them tools to resolve the issues. And that's how the second festival was born. And I spent about 4 or 5 months planning these festivals.
Sounds wonderful, and I think we will request Mr. Sharma to, have one literature festivals at least in London, which is spiritual in nature, of course, apart from being a literary festival. And you also have a TV background, like I was watching in that film, and you have produced hundreds of kids shows and everything. Now, do you see this book or any other book by you as a movie or a series, given that it's quite cinematic in its narrative?
Yes, of course. Well, actually, I've got lots of offers.
Oh, really?
I think I've rejected them all for the simple reason that, well, it's a very technical thing. They want, so if it's a series, I would like a producer to take all the books. They will take one book, take all the rights.
And ruin it.
And ruin it. I don't know if they'll ruin it, but I know that they will create their own backstories and they will make my other books redundant, which is not what I want. I've created a character. I'm writing more books in the series. I don't want her to do a cabaret in a film, whereas I'm showing her as a spiritual person. It's totally divergent. So I need to find a producer who sees my viewpoint, who's willing to take all the books in the series.
The Rampur Raza Mystery was commissioned by Ministry of Culture, India, and it's a fascinating, idea. Do you want to continue with this idea, library, and what could be the next library you want to write on?
Well, that's a secret, but of course it will continue. I am in talks with someone. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
And I think I'll open it to the readers and audiences sitting there. If there are any questions, we would love to take them.
Yes. Do you need a mic?
The inclusive nature of Rampur, as you said, is truly amazing, especially in the polarized version of the world that we're living in. How do your characters react to this polarization?
Well, they try to resolve. That's the whole point of the book. They're taking the plot from point A to point Z through this process. So they're trying to change the world little by little, actually.
Thank you.
Hello, Manjiri.
Yeah.
How did you find the differences between Maharashtra, which is your normal milieu, and the North, Rampur? What were the key differences you found in terms of the culture there?
First of all, of course, the language. So when I went there, everyone was talking in Urdu. Yes, and I had to tell them, please speak in Hindi. Okay, that's what I understand. Secondly, they were very warm. I'm not saying Maharashtrians are not warm, but I know that Maharashtrians can be quite kadak, as we call it. There was so much softness there, and so much warmth and welcoming them. Even the way they speak, I was like, yeah, let's do it. They'll say, please, aiye na. And all that was kind of different for me, and I enjoyed it while I was there. In fact, when I came back home, in my dreams, I was speaking Urdu. So much of influence in my head. But yes, I think that was the major difference, and they were all helpful people. Of course, there was...
I think if you'll read the book, first of all, in her author's note, she has talked about this aspect, and that's why I asked that question. She is talking about Ganga Jamni Tehzeeb, which is actually a new term for her, because being from Pune, Maharashtra, it's not a term that's... It's quite a North Indian term. We use it in Lucknow, we use it in North India mostly. So she has talked about it, and that it was her first exposure to that term. And also through the characters, if you look at the character, it's a very simple story. So there are characters, there are Muslim characters, there are also non-Muslim characters based in Rampur who are basically culturally rich through that, that milieu. It's not about religion in that book. They are just simple people who have a long history, a long Ganga Jamni history, and she has very nicely covered it. I think you must read this story.
Somebody at the...
Hello, Manjiri auntie. Good to see you. Just a question about general, adoption of, say, the millennials and new generation when it comes to murder mysteries. I'd be very curious to know from you how tastes are changing and how authors such as yourself are sort of adapting to a generation which is sort of using AI and are more technology savvy. I myself find myself reading more non-fiction now, though I grew up on reading your own books and other murder mysteries. So I'd love to know from you how trends are changing in general.
I know this AI thing is debated it's debated everywhere very strongly, but I feel as far as writers go, apart from the ease of research, I don't think it's going to change much. For the simple reason that plagiarism is a big thing. If I lift anything from the internet, it's going to be plagiarism. So that's number one. Number two, the millennials, well, every generation has their own quirks and their own styles. And literature has adapted to it, but not really taken off from the basic foundation of writing literature. I always look at literature as, it's not just a beautiful, turn of phrase. It's what comes in that phrase, like the laughter, the emotions, the beauty of, friendships, relationships. That is what is literature, and that's what you connect to. And I don't think even millennials wouldn't love it. Okay, apart from the pace, if you're talking about the treatment, that could change probably, depending on your attention span. But literature and its foundation is not going to change.
Hi Manjiri, Vrishal here. I would like to know what is the kind of preparation that needs to go before you start your research? Because I feel most of us would like to, I think at least few of us, would at some point of our life, even if we are not authors, to write something about, something that has gone in your life, about someone. So what is the kind of preparation that needs to go before you actually start your research? Secondly, during the research, what are the aspects that you cover? Like you said, you were there for about 20-25 days. So how do you go about that research? And my last question is, after you've gone through this drilling, I can understand it must be a very exhausting kind of an exercise, preparation, then going through research and writing. How soon do you come out of that characters of the destination? Because I believe one will start living with them, especially when you're writing a book about a destination or some characters. You start relating to them. So how do you, like, when we go for a movie, you start relating to those characters, just a 3 hour movie. But writing an entire script, writing an entire book, how do you come out of that?
Well, three big questions. Okay, let me start with how do you prepare, okay? So when you write a thriller or a mystery novel or a destination thriller, there are preparations because you need a plot. You know who's done it. You need to know what the mystery is about. It's not a book it's about relationships, husband, wife, their problems. That book can unfold gradually. A mystery thriller needs a plot, and a plot that is good enough to keep the reader guessing. So first you need to have an idea that needs to come out of you. Secondly, you need to identify where you want to base it. Destination thrillers, of course, I know that, I've taken Salzburg, I've taken Sweden, I've taken Germany. I do a lot of reading up on that place and find out if there's anything that clicks with me. For example, in Sweden, I saw the runes. That's it's a language. So these rune stones are basically everywhere there. And the rune language is on the gravestones. And there's rune divination, Norse mythology. So I did a lot of reading up on that. Then for this book particularly, I read up a lot on Rampur Raza because I knew I was entering a very new domain for me. So all these preparations go on. When I land there, I have the skeleton in my head that let me check what is in the structure that can help me take the story forward. So usually there is something that is threatened. For example, Rampur Raza Library is threatened, and the mystery has to be solved in 12 hours on the 250th anniversary day. So 7th October, everything starts at 6 a.m. and ends at 6 in the evening. So what will happen in these 12 hours is what I have to prepare for in such a way that the reader doesn't guess that this is going to happen next. There's no predictability and all that stuff. And then, of course, like you said, when you've written for so long, usually I take about 6 months to write a book. I get so involved in my characters that there was a point, my next book which is coming out is Mystery of the Portugal Hearts. There was a character called Anna in it, and I was checking the proofs, before submission. And I read the book, and I felt so bad for Anna. I just started crying. I said, what the hell have I done? I've created this sad character. Of course, she's a part of the thriller. But I apologized to Anna. I said, please forgive me, but this had to be a part of the book. So you see, that's the kind of connection that you have to your characters. I literally, after every book, have a good cry.
And if the writer connects with her or his characters, I think the readers will ultimately will. That's what I feel.
I hope so.
Ma'am, there are 90,000 books which are published in India every year, and 90% of them don't make past 1,000. So what advice do you have to authors like me who are struggling to find a way in that maze?
So what kind of fiction do you write?
I write drama. Drama.
Drama, oh, I'm sorry, drama. Okay. No, drama, that's contemporary drama.
Contemporary fiction, yes.
Okay, so it's a very difficult question because I think writing is a very personal, it's a very personal instinct and personal journey. If you want to write, you will write no matter what happens in the world. Even if 1,000 copies are sold, or 1 lakh, you will write. So if I tell you only 1,000 copies are going to be sold, please don't write. You're not going to listen to me. Okay, so there's no point in me giving you any advice or to any writer in the world. In India, majority of the books, I don't have a figure, but I would say at least 90% of the books don't sell beyond 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. 10,000 would be a bestseller. So the kind of reading culture that is there in the West, like, their bestsellers are, 50,000 or maybe something like that. So we are not anywhere close to that kind of a reading culture. And I feel that is because, in some way, I think readers in India are still reading mythology and romance and non-fiction. I think we need more mature readers to embrace other genres. And of course, I feel that there are more writers than readers today. So my advice to anyone who's writing, write. Never mind if it's just 1,000. Never mind it's one. If you find one good reader who appreciates what you've written, I think that's good enough.
Hi, Dr. Manjiri. This is Dinesh here. I've been listening to your conversation and very, very impressed with the idea particle concept that you spoke about. Very interesting. And another thing I want to commend you on is the Pune Lit Fest. If nobody invites me, I'll create my own festival. Brilliant.
Thank you. Someone has to do it.
Someone has to do it. So, listening to you is so much, so engrossing. I wanted to ask you two questions actually. When you write a thriller, do you have an end in mind when you write? Or does the story lead you to that end? So that's my first question. And the second one is more on your personal writing journey. When you write about so many characters. And it is said that the writers are quite schizophrenic. In your schizophrenia, who is your best support out of your writing circle in terms of family, friend, or whosoever understands you as a writer and gives you that space to be able to recover from that exhaustion that a writer goes through?
First of all, thank you. Well, so I'm the kind of writer who will know what the end is. I do not let anything to chance. Because like I said, it has to be plotted well. And as a mystery writer, I feel I possess two important features or elements. One is craft. I know my craft well, which is how I can experiment with it. And in a murder mystery, you have to experiment with it. Second is craftiness, because you have to be cunning enough to make the reader feel that he knows who the murderer is, and in the end have the grand reveal and say, hey, you don't know who it is, and yet he's going to feel happy. So you need these two things, and I think I've kind of managed to find my niche. So yes, I know who's done it, and I plan backwards, and I make sure that it happens in that way. Secondly, my family supports me immensely. And actually, it was my mom. I was 7 years old when I realized I wanted to be a writer. And my mom is an astrologer. And I asked her, will I be a writer? And she said, you will only be a writer. That's your goal. That's your purpose in life. And I think that one sentence, her one confirmation has led me all my life. I just know that I'm going to write, and I just know I'm an author. Having said that, my sister, my husband read both my manuscripts before I send them out. And after it is done, and even actually during the process, I have my dogs. My dogs are my eternal source of inspiration, energy, love. Everything I need, I get from dogs.
Hi, Shardul here. So I'm a proud Punekar myself. Okay. So it's not going to be very much related to the book. But so as you know, that Pune is like Oxford of the East, as you mentioned. It's a big IT hub right now. Students and people from all over the world come to study and work. It has a rich cultural history as well. Do you think it could make it to your destination, one of the destinations that you could write about? As you know, it's a city that you know back of your hand.
Well, it's not a destination thriller, but my other detective, Sonia Samarth, who solves cases with the help of Vedic astrology, lives in Pune. So there are multiple cases which happen around Pune. So you'll find Vaishali Hotel, Ferguson College, you'll find Shaniwarwada, all of that is it. But for a destination thriller, I would have to involve a little bit more about the history. Because my destination thrillers bring in a thread from history and bring them into a contemporary plot. And I bring in isolated historical figures and make them more relevant in the contemporary world. So I'll have to do research in that order for it. But yes, it's possible. So Ray Parker is half Indian, like I said. He's got an Indian father whom he doesn't get along with. So probably the day he comes back to India will be the last book in the series, and it could be in Pune, for all you know.
Hello, Dr. Manjari. Chetan here. I had a similar question, just like what Shardul asked about. You mentioned that your destination is your character. Like, what kind of characteristics you look out for in that destination? What is the thought process behind it? Where it makes it come to the decision, like you will write on the Taj Mahal and not Shaniwar Wada.
No, like I said, that there has to be, for example, in Rampur Raza, I spoke about the minarets, and with the 4 sections. Now that in itself is a great mystery, and that is my thread. Similarly, when I went to Salzburg and the palace, I saw that in the ceiling there were these frescoes with 4s everywhere, 4 professions, 4 elements, 4 whatever, everything, all engraved in the ceiling. That was what I was looking for. And there's a secret staircase behind a library cupboard. So these are the kind of things I need and require to take. See, because if I remove the staircase, if I remove the frescoes, there is no story. So those are important elements to take my story forward. And what was your second question? Okay, all right. Yeah.
And do you, sorry, I'm just,
Yeah.
Do you also have to visit the places you write about?
Yes, absolutely. Although I know that H.R.F. Keating in the 60s wrote the Inspector Gote mysteries when there was no internet, and he could still write about India. So he could do it, but I wouldn't. I would love, and the most important part is, I don't want it to be a mystery thriller where someone says, oh, here's an Indian author who's come here to write about our country. I'm writing the book like an insider. So I need to know the inside stories, I need to know the people, I need to visit families, I need to see where the cafe is, what are the cups they're serving in, how much time it takes from the cemetery in Salzburg to the Schloss in the middle of the night. I need to know all this to give it authenticity. So I have to be there.
Great. Do you have any more questions? Yeah. So.
Thank you for such an engaging and authentic immersion in the way you write and the whole world you've created. I'm really fascinated by trying to judge books by more than their cover. And you've already brought to life this latest book really well. And I don't mean to put you on the spot, so of course you can reject this request. But if you were to bring to life, imagining a 15-second film of the iconic moment or an iconic moment in this book, what would it be?
In the book, an iconic moment in the book?
Yeah.
Okay, let me think. I think it was the one that I mentioned where I asked the Diwani Hafiz whether this book is going to be written. And I got the answer. And there's a scene like that happens in the book where Sassy does the same thing. So for me, I think it kind of connects me to Rampur Raza Library because I was immersed in that entire experience and I have translated it into the book. Having said that, let me think of anything else that was iconic. I think the entire 5 days there, visiting the nooks and corners of that library, which were also even forgotten by the people because people who work there work 9 to 5. And I took them to small corners of the library saying, I want to go there, I want to go there. I went on the terrace, I went on the ceiling, places where they're not allowed to go. So I think for me that whole experience was, let me say this, that library is for me, or libraries or literature for me, and library where literature is stored, for me is a space where civilizations, you get to know how civilizations were created. You get to know how culture took root and how destinies were made. It's a place where, a library preserves our human stories. And when I went there, I felt that very strongly. I felt this whole, the ancient culture, the ancient manuscripts, the entire atmosphere there was very strong, which is why I began speaking to the spirit of the library. So I think for me, all those 5 days were iconic.
What a beautiful thought.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Any more questions? You know, what I love about this session is that, you know, it became so interactive that I think everyone present here has interacted with the author. Like, lovely. You have another question, I think.
Manjiri, what is your upcoming projects now? Near future.
आने वाली फिल्में कौन सी हैं?
Near and probably 5 years down the line.
Oh, 5 years. Okay, that's a long time. But this year, definitely, my next book is called Mystery of the Portugal Hearts, which is coming out in May. Will be launched in Delhi by the embassy, hopefully.
Well.
And yeah, and that's it. And the third book in the Sonia Samad series is what I'm writing now, which is the detective who solves cases with horoscopes. Yeah, that's really about it. And of course, there are other plans, but still to materialize. But I want to keep writing no matter what.
Great, Manji. And not just this book, you know, this session and this conversation has been truly inspiring for me because I take a lot of